what are your thoughts on the CPI, PPI data coming out of the US? So just like I alluded to a little bit earlier, just in regards to last week's data, so the CPI data is basically from the consumer. So looking at the consumer and how inflation's impacting, while PPI is the producer. So basically the companies. So looking at the CPI data, it was as expected, which we saw within the figures. But the PPI data was really the most concerning point. And like I said before, is that it means that it costs more in order to actually produce any sort of products, and eventually it's got to actually be filtered through. So it's whether the businesses absorb the costs or whether they pass on to the consumer. From what I was reading is that there's a chance that maybe 2/3 of it will be passed to the consumer and 1/3 absorbed by the business. Right now we're seeing that it's not being absorbed, or it's being absorbed by the businesses, because there's still that sort of uncertainty. And what that potentially could lead to is if it's actually passed on to the US consumer, inflation will increase, which will have an impact on gold, for example, because interest rates rise, especially in the US. It means it's stronger for the US dollar, and therefore gold would go down. So it is a really interesting story that's coming out of the US. So there are still more data points that we want to see, but from my perspective, I think it's showing that the tariffs are actually having an impact. So yeah, definitely something to keep an eye out for.